that says something about the system that we run here. Historically, Ghana and Burkina Faso have had very close ties, especially under my late father, President Rawlings, and the late Captain Sankara. So historically, there has always been a desire for these two countries to have a closer relationship, because if you actually look at what's happening within the northern borders of our country versus what's happening in Burkina Faso, whenever there's any disturbance on the Burkina side, most people just run onto our side, and for most people, they're coming back, they're meeting their family members, except on the other side of the boundary that demarcates our two different countries. So you cannot look at it without putting a little bit of context to where we stand as a country vis-a-vis Burkina Faso and the rest of the Sahelian countries. Then, of course, if you consider the fact that ECOWAS has made overtures to these countries to remain, in spite of them having progressed to, set up their own zone, I suppose. The thing is, given what ECOWAS represents to our sub-region, and given the reasons that they have given, the Sahelian countries have given for forming their own community, I think one way or the other, we have to find ways of coming back to the discussion table with regards to how we mend bridges between ourselves. And I believe that this invitation of President Mahama to the head of state of Burkina Faso to attend the inauguration was a strong message, not just to the Burkinabe people, but to the whole of the sub-region and the whole world, actually, because the whole world is aware of what is going on. And I suppose it's making provision for that option for people to come back to the table and have discussions. Of course, as you will know, to extricate oneself from an economic community such as ECOWAS or any other, it's not as simple as having formed a new position of saying you don't belong. There are a lot of other things that affect the nationals of the various nation states that are part of the community, which have far-reaching implications beyond the political. There are the economic implications, there are the sociocultural implications as well, and we must always bear in mind the impact on the most vulnerable in our various countries. I believe that what we saw in terms of the invitation of the head of state of Burkina, as well as the appointment of retired Lieutenant Colonel Bevlo Lati as an envoy to those countries, is a strong message that Ghana understands that the struggle towards self-determination, the struggle towards economic empowerment is not as linear as we like to say it is. And in so doing, it is just an acknowledgement that there are other ways, by which one can actually reach out to our brothers and sisters in other countries to remend some of the broken bridges. And I believe that him doing so probably sends a signal that we are not casting you away. You are still part of us, and there is room to have conversations on how we come together, because ultimately it's about the empowerment of our people. It's not about our personal, issues specifically, whether as a head of state of this country or of that country, but about the greater good of our various nation states, especially of our most vulnerable, and making sure that we are not making our countries more vulnerable, given the fact that we know the incidents of terrorist attacks, of terrorist armed groups, and of violent extremism, which is knocking at our doorstep. And so we cannot sit here as a country holding our credentials of democratic rule for as long as we have and feel that we can live in isolation. We have borders that are porous, amongst other things. So we need to have ways in which we can bridge the gap to, of course, decrease our risk, but of course make sure that we're trying to create some greater cohesion within the sub-region. So I believe that it was a positive thing.
being positive, can this also help, because you can see the efforts of the authorities of Heads of State to get the Sahelian countries back, and the good thing was that the chairman of the authorities of Heads of State came in for the nomination.
Yes, and that you've attempted one way and it hasn't worked does not mean that there aren't other ways to do so. And bear in mind the fact that President Mahama is the newest president, albeit he's been president before, but as far as the current landscape and geopolitics are concerned, he is the newest president in the sub-region, which means that he has an opportunity, it's an almost blank slate, to attempt to do something that perhaps the others may have failed to because they've been around through the genesis of this entire process. So I believe that this certainly gives us an opportunity